Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's June 29th. I did make it back safely from Brazil. Had a pretty uneventful trip coming back, so um, got in yesterday afternoon, and I'm back in the office this morning on my regular schedule. I'm still a little behind, so if you're looking for an answer for something and it seems like I'm a little slow, it'll take me a day or so to get caught up. I just got a million different things to do to catch up. So, but I'm pretty close. I've gotten through most of the emails. Definitely, I believe I've gotten through all the important ones. There could be some. There's probably a few more lingering out there that I'll get to in the next sometime before close of business tomorrow. And then I should be back on schedule again. I hope. But I picked a good day for my first day of trading back. A nice trend up, and then a huge downtrend. Um, doesn't really matter why it's selling off or climbing, but I'm guessing a lot of this is Greece related with the issues in Greece and the banks being closed down and that kind of thing, and it makes the markets nervous. We did have a big gap down. Generally, those gaps are closed pretty quickly, but obviously it didn't happen today. It looked like they were going to close that gap. And you can see a measured move would have just about done it a little bit more. It would have actually been right there at it, if not real close, and we didn't get the measured move, and it's been all downhill since. So, and really, you can just about sell these anywhere, any kind of correction, and do pretty good, especially if it's off the trend line or near the trend line, whatever. You can't hardly go wrong. It was a little bit questionable here if we might have. This is too steep, obviously. A 45-degree angle like this is a more natural um, trend. So it wasn't clear if we might get an extended trend going on up to fill the gap. But you can see we broke on through here, and we tested the bottom of that range a couple of times, and then it was off to the races to the downside. So um, you just never know. But there was a break of the original channel right here, and then a couple of legs up to a new high, and then it sold off. So we played the rules out. So this is where it got a little bit questionable, um, and I was a little nervous about. This is where you'd have to be a little bit nervous about uh, taking any longs, even though they probably would have worked if you followed the rules here. There might have been one here that didn't work. Um, but you're better off just to kind of sit and wait and see what happens in a situation like that. And by doing so, it ends up taking off and is straight down. And a couple of these, if you'd caught them, you can ride them for a long ways. So, um, and in fact, we closed not far off the lows of the day. So I think the low of the day was around 20, we can just call it 2047, and we closed at 2051. So less than 5 points there. But let's back out and talk about the trades, try to make this a little bit bigger, and we'll go from there. But early on, the trend was up. Again, we did have the break here. First trade I saw that I really liked after the 7 o'clock hour was right here, and this is that failed second entry short that reversal type pattern. Notice how we were trading down, and then we get back above the EMA, and you get a failed second entry short and a reversal bar. Just go long one tick above that. Nice setup there. It was tempting to take this one, but there was so much resistance across there, I thought it was better to wait. It turns out that's the right move, and then you get a second entry long right here, and it just does get enough to get out of that one, then it pulls back. And so I didn't like going long on that first entry off the lows, so wait on that second entry off the lows. It comes here, and then I went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green, simply because we didn't break higher here. Even though we didn't go lower, you can see that trend line kind of holding up through there. And even though we didn't go lower there, the fact that if we'd gone higher, I would have liked it more. But I still think it fits the rules enough to mark it blue, so I did. And we're looking for this to make a new high anyway. And that was a quick, easy move. And then um, it pulls back, and you get a first entry there. But I didn't like that first entry. You might have taken it because it did break lower first and then go out the top side. If you did, it worked. I didn't mark it. I think it's too risky, especially with that double top right there. But then you get a breakout pullback long, and you get that failed second entry short, because notice that's a new low. It's lower than the previous one there. First entry, pullback second entry, and there's two legs up, and you're expecting after two legs a bigger correction. So you're going to trap some people there. We're not looking for shorts yet because we don't have the new high, so you just skip any shorts at this point. And nice reversal bar right off the EMA, and that turned out to be a really good trade right there. Then we pull back, and now we got the break in the new high, but we had this possible trend line here, and so you really had to wait for prices to come back to it before you got long. There's a second entry long right there. If you took that, you could probably convince me. If you could give me all the right reasons to convince me why you would take that, I might say, okay, you can mark that one green. But I wouldn't take it. I think it's too risky after the break and the new high, um, and not being off the trend line. But when it does come back to the trend line, I'm okay with it there. And that's pretty much a reverse. Let me move these out of the way. And that's pretty much a reversal bar, so I'm okay going long there. And for a minute, I was afraid I might be trapped, but it bounced right off that line like usual. So then you got a second opportunity right there. So if you were already in, I'm okay adding on right here when it broke higher again. And if you weren't in yet, definitely add on right there, because now you've got a double bottom and you've tested it two more times. You're going to get at least a scalp out of that in most every case. Nothing's 100%, so don't take that comment the wrong way. But I like that one. And I liked adding on there if you wanted to. And unfortunately, all you got was a scalp out of them. But if you've got a double load right there, it turns out to be a pretty good trade. And then you get a notice how now that really, when it turned down right there, that really confirmed that trend line. And when we shot on through here, we were looking for prices to come to the low side. So notice what this is, a breakout pullback short. We came right on through, pulled back, tested it. I didn't like going short below that one, but when it got that reversal and broke higher and turned down, I liked going short right there. So make sure you understand this trade is really that trap right there, that long trap. And where do you expect it to go? Down to this line, which would probably be right there, off that last push down low. And that's exactly where it bounces. And you get a second entry short right here with a big bearish bar right off that upper trend line. And I adjusted this a little. Earlier I had it a little bit less steep than that. And it might have been, but in the end, this one ends up coming back into play perfectly down here. So I had adjusted it for this one somewhat, and it turned out to be the right place. But you got that second entry short right there with that big bearish bar. And then you got, it's almost a repeat pattern of right here. Then you get that little fake break higher, turns down, and goes out the bottom, all in the same bar. And that turns out to be another good move. And then you get a failed second entry long here because that's a new high. Pull back first entry, moving down second entry. And it's a little bitty bar. It's really close to the low. There's not much room there. It's a little bit risky, so that's why it's marked in green. But an aggressive trader realizes it's not down to the lower line, and there's enough room to get out before it gets there, and it actually ends up going a little bit lower. And now you know the market's getting weak by this overshoot. A lot of times an overshoot will lead to a reversal. But you can see here, it tried to go higher three times and failed. I didn't like going short right there, but this is almost like you could basically treat this like a failed second entry long, because look at the new high, pull back first entry, pull back, and then there's another attempt to go higher, and it couldn't break higher, and it couldn't do it on that bar either. Um, that's telling you something right off the EMA, right off the midline. Just put you a stop right there, and off it goes again. So another good setup. At this point, the market's looking fairly weak. It's a shame that there's really not a great way to enter this one right here, but it wasn't back to the trend line. We didn't have an overshoot or anything. There's too big a chance we didn't have a break of this trend line or this channel. There's a little bit of overshoot of the shorter term channel here, maybe. So that might have been one clue that might have led you to go short there, but I don't think it's worth risking, because there's too big a chance it's going to get a little break and one more pull up and then go down. But instead it just takes off. And you get your failed second entry long right there. And so there's a trap. But again, there's a lot of overlap right there and a lot of little dojis. And we didn't get back up to this line. So I was just too afraid that it might push higher. So I think it's too risky to enter there. But there is a trap and a failed second entry long, and those almost always work, especially with trend. So that one's hard to ignore, but that's why I marked it in green, because it's a little bit aggressive and there's a lot of overlap. All the reasons I just discussed. But when it tried to go higher one more time and then gives you this bearish reversal type bar, um, you definitely are okay to enter there. And then you get a little breakout pullback short right here. So you could have even entered again, but you're entering at the very low of the day there. So I think you wanted to enter here, and I think you're better off just to ride this one until it touches and then comes back. And then you get that failed second entry long, a second entry short right here. Another quick move down, and then you get a second entry off the EMA right there. And then you get that failed second entry long. So now you got a long trap. And the market's just really weak now. It's obvious. And boom, off it goes. It was tempting to even enter back right here. But after it just came off the bottom side of the channel, what does the odds tell you is going to happen? It's going to the other side. It did push a little bit lower first, but where does it end up on the other side? And that's why you got to be careful about trying to sneak in. And then this one was really tempting, entering here, but you had those two dojis. And this one there is a lot of stem up there, but there was a big overshoot, right? And that will often lead to a reversal of some type. So you couldn't ignore this overshoot. And there really was never a close outside, even though there's a negative bar here. It never closed outside the trend line. And so we didn't have a break yet, so there's too big a chance you can get trapped here. But when it gave you this little bitty small inside bar, notice what it did. You got your new high, you pull back, it tests that trend line once, then it pulls back, tests it again, and then it just gives you that real negative bar. Just go short right there below that, and we're probably headed to the other side again, and that's exactly where we go. We do bounce one more time beforehand, but that's after the 2 o'clock hour. And there was one more trade in here. Again, it was after 2 o'clock, but this was the first break of that channel right here, and we did shoot on through. So I figured this would probably go straight on down to the lower line. It didn't, but it still was plenty to, get out and get your profit. And then, it just continued to go lower and lower after that. But generally, we won't mark anything after 2 o'clock. It gets really risky entering this late in the day. And a lot of times, trend like this strong will close on its low. But sometimes, just before the 3 o'clock hour, everybody will start exiting. You'll get a rally. And it's not worth risking that in here after such a good day. At least that's my take on it. If you were in on this early rally, you could make all your money before you even got to 10 o'clock today. But if you were trading or hanging on and you caught some of this trend, you could have been riding, you might have just been managing a runner all day that keeps going lower. So, and there never was a break of this trend channel until right here. It's pretty good all day long until right there. And that's 3 o'clock. So that would have been the first place you'd really consider exiting if you're unless you're just trying to re-enter each time, which a lot of times I'll do that because I like to get the maximum profit. And I don't take a chance if it looks like there's a chance something could change. So, um, but that's really it for today. I hope everybody had a good week while I was gone. Um, it didn't like I missed much. There was a little bit of a sell-off. It seems like one day, yeah, right in here for a couple of days. But for the most part, I left with prices in this 2100 range, and when I get back, we're still right around this 2100 range until it gapped open on the overnight on Sunday evening and continued to trade down. And we're down 50 points now by the end of the day. So this was a good day for me to come back, and hopefully you recognize these two trends: the one on the way up, the one on the way down, and that you traded it. And um, not much else we can say about today. Just remember that normally when you get these gaps, generally the market will try to fill it and it will be successful pretty quickly. But in today's case, it wasn't. So this is a good example of, the bias not holding out. Um, the news is just, there's just too many market spooked from the grease stuff. And, we don't really care why. I like to emphasize that. Don't, don't try to read the news because the news could seem very bearish and the market can be crazy bullish, and the news can seem crazy bullish and the market be insanely bearish. So you cannot guess and read, even if you know the news and nobody else knew it. It's not going to help you because you don't know what the market's going to do. We can only wait and see what the market's telling us at the moment as it's doing it. So don't try to, as far as the news goes, we don't care what it says. All we care is that it affected it negatively and there's a nice downtrend, and we're going to follow this downtrend. And that's how you want to trade it. So keep that in mind. Um, and that's it for today. Again, it'll take me a day or two to get kind of back on normal track, but we'll be having a regular week this week going into the 4th of July. We do need to remember the 4th of July holiday. Let's just look at the calendar. I haven't even looked at it yet. Yeah, so Friday will probably be the holiday. I haven't seen the calendar yet. Maybe it's Monday, but I'm guessing Friday's going to be the holiday. So Wednesday or Thursday, this will be probably another short trading week. I'll just have to pull the calendar out and look at it. But I'm guessing Friday's going to be the 4th of July holiday. We'll probably be closed for that day. It'll either be that or Monday. I'm guessing it'll be Friday. So we'll probably have a short trading week this week. So anyway, I'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll try to remind people about that tomorrow. And but I'm not doing Friday chart lessons anyway over the summer. I'm taking Fridays off and continue to do that unless it's raining or I'm just bored to death and nothing else to do. So, but I'm going to wrap today's up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.